Then, oneness decided it would like to experience a new reality in which it can experience itself subjectively. So, it conjured up a subatomic particle that we named the proton. This proton was the father of thinking, the first thought ever conjured up by oneness. Another seed was introduced, which is the seed or son of the father, we'll name neutron. Now, the son is one with the father proton. This is the beginning of thinking. The next introduction of thinking had to come in the form of motion, vibrations, and energy. Without this motion and energy, the proton and neutron were like doormen, nothing more than a thought without purpose. Then came the introduction of the negative charge that would spark the imagination of the father proton. The negative charge was the elect lady we'll call electron. This elect lady electron was 1800 times smaller than the father proton and the son neutron. This electron would spin around the proton and neutron held in orbit by the attraction of the male. But why stop there? Introduce a whole harem of ladies circling and flirting with the male, creating a womb of protection for the seed of the father to reproduce another, just like themselves, over and over again, endlessly. We call this womb the nucleus. This womb will be the room, the birthplace of the neutron sun seed within the womb of the mother. This mother we call matter. This womb of the mother, this room of matter became the nucleus, for it produced the new clay of us. This electron orbits the father and son at the speed of thought, thereby occupying space and conjuring up the illusion of matter from the void of emptiness. Oneness conjured up something. Within this group of the father proton, the son neutron, and the mother electron, the whole of everything was formed. This is the first atom, the beginning of thought. This is the matrix womb. Thought formed this energy that glowed as in an electrically charged atom. This glow produced light. Everything in our reality that is able to be thought up comes into existence. We live in a 3D dimensional thought universe. El, spelt E-L, was mentioned as the father of all gods in Egyptian mythology. El is the inspiration for the term electricity. Electricity. Electricity is produced by the elect lady, the electrons of the atom. El is the great architect of the universe, the so-called creator God, the bringer of light. The word architect is referring to the arcing ability of electricity. Now that oneness has conjured up thought, and thought has conjured up this three-dimensional universe, it was time to conjure up or think up the human race. The first humans were set up around the world, and the sex act for reproduction was introduced. So, too, was the illusory birth and death that was also established. The human hologram. Humanity itself is an illusory form. The human hologram is made up of the same atoms. When viewed under a microscope, you'll see a mass of energy vibrating. Every part of the body is a smaller version of the whole body, and this is why every cell contains all the information necessary to create an entire human form. Everything we think we see in the three-dimensional realm are simply light particles, energy atoms swirling around at an incredible speed. There is virtually nothing physical in an atom. The swirl of atoms creates such an incredible blur that it is impossible to see through them. Therefore, they appear real and physical, and ultimately the three-dimensional world seems to take on substance or matter. If, however, they were forced to slow down and eventually stop, you would see right through them and into the eternal state, and who we really are would be evident. Now, before we go any further, one of the most important symbols to know and remember is this symbol. Now, don't get bogged down at the mythological reference given. This symbolizes the three levels of consciousness, or the three main levels of the illusion. This is like a formula for looking at everything in this three-dimensional universe. There are also sub-levels within these three levels themselves. This concept must be understood to comprehend this occult knowledge and understand this documentary as it is explained on different levels of the illusion, sometimes away from mainstream. The reason we need this formula is because we cannot see everything with our limited five senses. Even with complex technology, this is still limited. Once again, we view this technology with the same limited senses. Another reason is that we've been disconnected from other realms of reality and cannot see the other frequencies or realms. For example, the human body on one level of the illusion is flesh, blood and bones. Yet on another level, the body is a waveform made from light and chakra points and has waves of auras emanating throughout the body. Another deeper look at the body, which is made up of light atoms, the electrons spinning around quickly to give the illusion of solidarity form. The final level of this is the atoms and molecules themselves are like source codes or matrix codes of information. These atoms can communicate with each other no matter the distance, even light years apart. This is because time and space are an illusion. Now, let's have a look at the human brain. The human brain on one level of the illusion is this mushy sponge. Yet on another level, the electric and magnetic firing of the neurons in the brain. Now, the third level of the illusion is the liquid crystal prism of our brains. Deeper levels of the illusion are always the same, light, atoms, and the very end is the information structure. How the mind really works. The mind is obsessed with shape, sound, and color. Why? Because that's all it has. The crystal brain was created that way. Thoughts are sounds, shapes, vibrations, and light. That's the universal language or software. The mind then decodes these sounds, vibrations, into a 3D holographic illusion. Over 400 billion pieces of information per second is sorted in the subconscious mind by the time it bubbles up through to the conscious mind. Now, depending on one's belief patterns, only 2,000 bits of information remain, which turns into a 3D experience we call life. The leftovers are the most self-serving information, which is about the environment, our bodies, and time. The mind manifests what it focuses on. When we consider how we see things in this 3D space, we're told, from an intellectual perspective, that light enters through the pupil of our eye, where it strikes the back of the eye, where it's reversed, and then travels along a neurological path to our brain, where it's flipped right side up again, and we see an image. Unfortunately, this is incorrect. Light is thought, and the thought of what we are intended to see is implanted within the liquid crystal prism of our brain. The suggestion, which originated from the original creative mindset, travels through the crystal brain, and similar to a ray of light passing through a rain shower, a rainbow of three-dimensional color, form and sound explodes in front of us. Whatever suggestion is attached to that explosion emanating from our crystal brain determines color, shape, depth, sound, and so on. The things we see, the sounds we hear, the smells we smell, all these details are within the thought, which is the word, the sound, the vibration, the energy, the glowing, and is the light. This has all been implanted in our brains as subliminal suggestion, and we believe it because we believe our senses and all the suggestion attached to them. It seems real. Even the sun, moon, and stars that reflect light to our eyes make up the hypnotic suggestion to convince us that what we see is real. It's only light. It's just a seductive, illusory, convincing thought form conjured up by the original oneness. Physical mass does not move, only the information of the swirling mass of atoms that make it what it is. The all-seeing eye, which is the eye of Lucifer, in the atom matrix womb, is also referred to the pineal gland. On one level, the pineal gland is the connection between the silver cord that is attached between the spirit body and the physical body. Thought or light travels through the spirit body, which is made of hyperdimensional water. Humans and everything that has life has an etheric body which looks identical to the physical body but functions at a higher frequency. In fact, it is at the same frequency as the ether. The spirit body has access to all possible realities within the matrix illusion, which also connects us to our original oneness, or as some people will call, the God connection. DNA. This is the body's genetic library, found in every cell, and we all have some 120 billion miles of the stuff. It is DNA that carries the codes for our physical characteristics, but it is far more than that. It contains in excess of 100 trillion times more information than our most sophisticated storage devices. The DNA of all life, everything from a human being to a reptile, cat, dog, tree, flower, fish, insect, everything, shares the same codes known as A, G, C, adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. This DNA tape has letters and a language, which is how we were created by this original thought entity. It is this programming into our very fiber that causes us to believe that what our language is saying to us is real. Without this language in our DNA, we would not give any credence to this 3D illusion we call life. However, because it is built into us to deceive us, we feel we have no choice but to accept that everything we see is real. The reader of the body software is called RNA, or ribonucleic acid, which is usually found in the form of a single strand. To keep it simple, the DNA is like the disk or template, and the RNA is like the laser that reads the information on the disk and communicates it to the cells. Mental and emotional influences like stress, trauma, and electromagnetic and chemical pollution, including additives in our food and drink. These can destabilize the RNA reading process and cause translation mistakes that lead to disease. All of these factors and more can affect how the RNA reads the DNA, and this is fundamental to both physical and mental health and our sense of reality. Now listen carefully here. DNA is a crystalline structure and a receiver, transmitter and amplifier of frequencies or light. This is what plugs us into the matrix and plugs everything and everyone around us. We are all connected to each other, including every animal and every living creature. The subconscious mind is located in the DNA. The subconscious mind provides a link with infinite intelligence and all other minds. So, why are some people smart and some people not? Well, in reality, we are all born on the same level of awareness. Different levels of awareness has to do with our programming and our belief patterns from the very start of life. DNA traits are also passed from father to son, mother to daughter, all the way from our past ancestry tree. We carry these traits and pass these traits to future generations. Higher levels of awareness also depends on how connected someone is to infinite intelligence inside the matrix illusion and infinite oneness outside the illusion. Spirituality, home surroundings, and environmental surroundings also play a major role. Unfortunately, mental laziness is now the trend of today's society. This is why the elite bloodline are obsessed with interbreeding to pass down strong traits and occult knowledge through the generations. Consciousness. Where consciousness observes, matter appears. When you look into the eyes of another person, you are looking at yourself. When you have high levels of awareness, you will sense this one conscious. Quantum physics has now shown us that the person performing the experiment influences the outcome. In other words, consciousness can change the outcome of an experiment depending on its belief patterns. The ether. One of the biggest occult secrets kept hidden is about the ether. Now listen closely to what I'm about to tell you. This was edited out of The Secret, Law of Attraction, and The Law of Success, including most versions of Napoleon Hill's classic. Every known thought, every known idea, every invention known to man exists in the ether. The ether is a great cosmic mass of eternal forces of vibration. It is made up of both destructive vibrations and constructive vibrations. The space between the planets is very much alive. That it is the highest form of vibration known, the vibrations of thought. The ether is all around us. We access the ether at will through thinking, but some people can access it at higher levels, which we will discuss in the free ebook. When Alexander Graham Bell gave us the telephone, he hinted that it had been done before. The old devices have been reinvented, he observed. The Earth. Beautiful Earth, in her majestic state, when formed, was nothing as it looks today. We can only now view the Earth in the three-dimensional frequency range, but the Earth has many dimensions. So now we have established that there was no missing link found simply because there is no such thing as a missing link. All cultures began suddenly and fully developed 6,000 years ago. They did not rise to their peak. They were at their peak from the beginning. Our ancestors had access to the ether of thought and knew the answers to every question. Every idea, every known to man, is stored in the ether. Some call the Akashic records, of the Healer Arc Echelon. Every inventor in history went with his bioplasmatic body attached to the silver cord and accessed these thoughts. The inventor knew how to put all these ideas together piece by piece for the invention to come together. Also, people in their sleep can acquire great ideas, inventions, and mathematical and scientific blueprints that form these inventions. Great writings are acquired in the same way. Before the deluge, this was done so much easier than now, as humanity was tuned in to higher frequencies of consciousness, a direct link to the intelligence source. So, no one up to this day has ever discovered anything, just a rediscovery. Think of the human mind like this: a state-of-the-art computer with a hard drive having access to every possible infinite supply of software programs that's never, ever ending. That's the ether. The fabricated stories of alien spirits or channeling the dead are all communications of thought in the ether. Channelers channel thoughts from the ether. Every human brain communicates with infinite intelligence, but only a few know how to master it. Someone has been lying to us. It needs to stop. People need to know the truth. Explanations. To answer the many intelligent questions that have been asked on the Holographic Universe series, made for Year 6 students to comprehend, including questions like, if a truck hits me, will I feel it? Is that an illusion? Or, is paying the bills every week an illusion? The answer is yes. It's still an illusion. This 3D illusion is our reality and our experience. We see it and feel it on every level of our existence through the 5 senses. Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one, said Albert Einstein. In 1982, a remarkable event took place. At the University of Paris, a research team led by physicist Alain Aspect performed what may turn out to be one of the most important experiments of the 20th century. You did not hear about it on the evening news. In fact, unless you're in the habit of reading scientific journals, you'll probably have never even heard Aspect's name, though there are some who believe his discovery may change the face of science. No, out there. It's all happening inside our brains. The universe is inside us. The universe is there only when we wish to observe it. Every section of it breaks down to a level one wishes to observe. The three-dimensional plane is just an illusion of electrons, protons, and neurons buzzing around at breakneck speed, creating the illusion of matter, time, and space. There is no such thing as matter, no such thing as time, and no such thing as space. Scientists can't understand why subatomic particles can communicate instantly with each other over staggering distances because they're thinking in terms of space, but there is no space involved.
How does one create a cage, lock one's own self inside the cage, throw away the key and forget there is a key or a cage, and forget there is an inside or outside, and even forget there is a self? Create the illusion that there is no illusion. The entire universe is real, and that no other universe exists or can be created. On Earth, the propaganda taught and agreed upon is that the gods are responsible and that human beings are not responsible. You are taught that only a god can create universes. So the responsibility for every action is assigned to another is-be or God, never oneself. No human being ever assumes personal responsibility for the fact that they, themselves, individually and collectively, are gods. This fact alone is the source of entrapment for every is-be.
Recoding sigils, symbolism, and objects. A person can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. The ruling bloodlines knew about these thought forms and through rituals, thoughts, and incantations projected the intent thought within a symbol, a sigil, numbers, alphabet, and any object they desire to charge. For example, say I have created an object or a sigil. I want to now project a particular thought to the object or sigil. So I do this in a particular way. Now, the sigil is charged. A thought at a subatomic level has now attached itself with the sigil or object, but I am only one person, so the charge won't be very effective or long-lasting. Now, let us see how the elite cabal do it. They know how to design a proper object, knowing the right shapes and what goes with what. They then get groups of high initiates to charge these symbols, objects or sigils using incantations, and through the centuries using the same objects, symbols or sigils with the same incantations by groups of initiates all over the world. The object then becomes very powerful, and when this object is viewed, the intent thought attached to this object or symbolism forms the subliminal messaging we receive that controls and affects our day-to-day life. We are conditioned to see and still not see what we're seeing. These rituals were preformed inside a pyramid where cosmic energy from the ether is drawn down at 1/3 of the base of the pyramid. A crystal is fixed at the apex of the pyramid that multiplies and distributes the cosmic energy throughout the pyramid, where the initiates sit around the floor in certain positions and thought is projected into the sigil, object or symbol. The alphabet and number system sigils were pre-formed that way. The English alphabet formed about 600 years ago and was perfected for powerful subliminal attachments. We're looking at the language from a non-scientific point of view. You'll never see what they're up to if you approach it scientifically. The sounds and shapes of the letters of the English alphabet all have special primary characteristics. A, of course, is a pyramid with a separated capstone. This lets you know how important the pyramid and the triangle are to the whole system to hold down the primary position. This is alpha, the beginning. This is the first syllable of the word alphabet. They also know the power of the shape of a triangle trajectory. This is why the triangle pyramid is the strongest symbol or shape associated with the mind. This is a three-dimensional world, where the number 3 is repeated endlessly throughout this illusory plane. Why? because 3D causes everything to have a believability perspective when perceived by our five senses. When the triangle is placed in a circle, it becomes very powerful.
Is that necessary? I mean, the triangle is the strongest structure in nature.
Another symbol is the hexagon, which is the form of two overlapping triangles, which have been created by the electrons orbiting the proton and neutron. This hexagon is the hex placed on humanity through the adoration of the mother woman. This has been implanted through the thought process of this unseen group of thinkers.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
This has been implanted through the thought process of this unseen group of thinkers. The octagon. This powerful symbol has 8 sides. 8 is the number of control. It is not at all a coincidence that the octagon-shaped stop sign is riddled throughout much of the world. It's a constant subliminal that we are captives. How extremely captive our 3D life experience is. The foundation rock in Jerusalem that lies under the Dome of the Rock with its 8 sides has been reproduced millions of times throughout the world over the last century. This octagon shape had to become part of societies throughout the world through a very complex process. Number 8 equals control, that the group of 8 world leaders of the 8 industrialized countries are most commonly known by their acronym G8. Quite obviously, this spells G8 or gate, again utilizing the number of complete control. The myths surrounding Father Time, or Cronus, associated mistakenly, but mythically, with Cronus, who swallows his children after they're born, is the inspiration for the number 8 or 8. The major music scale has 8 octaves and the piano has 88 keys. This is similar to the subliminal suggestion implanted with the mythological star god fables related to us through the 88 constellations, all arranged in 8 groups. Every shape, every word, every number has hidden subliminal messages attached to them. All sports games are rituals that program us subliminally. Let's take a look at sports symbolism. Take the instance of the soccer ball. We see from the energy grid diagram that the world, or the ball, is filled with geometric grids. The grid patterns form pentagrams and hexagons around the globe. We know these simple shapes are used by satanic thinkers to carry out their rituals. These rituals always involve opposition to awareness. Then, when you apply these simple shapes to the soccer ball and provide 2 opposing teams in a soccer game, somehow the message seems to get through to the consciousness that all is well with the opposing and divided nature of things. The egregore group of thinkers manipulate the Illuminati pyramid through a process of hypnotic mind control known as Kabbalism. The rulers of ancient Summer Babylon were the first to receive the knowledge of the Kabbalah. These leaders laid claim to the divine right of the kings to rule. This is the mystery. What actually occurs within the Kabbalah secret space, where matter can be manipulated one molecule at a time, is that the subatomic particles have spin. When the particles are separated and removed to any distance from one another, yes, even light years apart, distance has no effect, those particles that were once associated at close range will keep spinning in the same direction. Interestingly, when the spin is changed on one separated subatomic particle, the other separated particles will now change their spin in agreement. Sex, sex, sex. The world is ruled and the destiny of civilizations is established by the human emotions. People are influenced in their action not by reason so much as by feelings. The creative faculty of the mind is set into action entirely by emotions and not by cold reason. The most powerful of all human emotions is that of sex. There are other mind stimulants, but none of them combined can equal the driving power of sex. Every intelligent person knows that stimulation in excess through alcoholic drink and narcotics is a form of intemperance which destroys the vital organs of the body, including the brain. However, not every person knows that overindulgence in sex expression may become a habit as destructive and as detrimental to creative effort as narcotics or liquor. A sex-mad man is not essentially different than a dope-mad man. Both have lost control over their facilities of reason and willpower. Sexual overindulgence may not only destroy reason and willpower, but it may also lead to either temporary or permanent insanity. The entire subject of sex is one with which the majority of people appear to be unpardonably ignorant. A false belief implanted in the minds of the arrogant masses to have inferior complexes, which will develop that a highly sexual nature is a curse. The emotion of sex is a virtue only when used intelligently, and with discrimination it may be misused, and often is, to such an extent that it debases instead of enriching both body and mind. This is why they hide sexual subliminal in cartoons and advertising to oversex children and adults. This becomes a destructive force to the mind and distracts our awareness from reality to the illusory images presented to us. This is the process called hypnosis. Hypnosis is simple misdirection of reality. This is why the world systems are based on sex ritualism and sexual innuendo. Though very pleasant, they are very distracting and disconnect us from our eternal wisdom state if we allow our awareness of this sex-driven thought process to destroy our connection to wisdom and reality. All things must be balanced. Cartoons. The elite understand that if they use the words, symbols, colors, and the rituals associated with these, that they will unlock the power within. Therefore, operating from deep within this trance-induced mindset, they go about the agenda business, working the Kabbalistic secrets into our illusory daily lives, making the connection to wisdom all but a memory. One perfect example of this comes to us courtesy of Illuminated member Jack Warner, a Jewish immigrant from Poland, who settled in Ontario with his parents and 4 brothers in the early 1900s before moving to the USA. Jack was the youngest of the brothers, who eventually put together Warner Brothers Studios, that today is a subsidiary of Time Warner. First off, their last name was not Warner, but Wands Kolassa. They incorporated their name and logo with the WB for Warner Brothers. However, all is not as it seems. Surprise! The WB is on a shield, a symbol of Orion, and a symbol of the Jewish Rothschild family. Rothschild equals red shield. These brothers were the first to include sound clips with feature-length silent movies. What they are truly famous for is the cartoon character Bugs Bunny. Once again, they invent a whole new tool to indoctrinate the illusory minds of children to conform to the desired reality they need to be established for their agenda to succeed. The hypnotic suggestion established with this character, Bugs Bunny, a B and G word, was that of war. If anyone has any bewilderment why the United States of America is so thirsty for war at every turn, check out the way the children were brought up and programmed for all their childhood years. Take a look at the mindless subliminals that were pumped into the innocent receiving crystals, coupled with the endless suggestion of the American dream, and there's no other possible outcome than to have a population completely obsessed with killing, conquest, and war.
Of course, you know, this means war.
Really? What sort of wholesome, beneficial suggestion is that supposed to implant within a young mind? Of course, this is nothing in comparison to what's going on today. Modern video games the kids are playing, purchased by their brainwashed parents, indoctrinates kids into violence, death, and war to desensitize their young minds in accepting what's going on in today's world.